What's up, guys? It's your boy James, aka 68J, coming to you on this amazing, good Lord, what day is it? Tuesday. That's what happens when you when you're all in on crypto. And I'm here with my friend, my brother, the one and the only Sean McBride. How you doing, my friend?
What's up? What's up? Good to be here. Thanks, James.
Man, I tell you what, we had a little bit of opportunity to chat. Much love to you, your family, and all the stuff that you're doing. Before I even get into all this crypto stuff, because I definitely want to pick your mind with some questions that we have. Who is Sean McBride? Like, what was your journey prior to crypto? If you don't mind answering that.
Yeah, man, it's been quite the journey. Let me tell you. I come from the Midwest. I hail from Iowa, Caitlin Clark country. A bit disappointed in the outcome of the game yesterday, but really proud of my Iowa women's basketball Hawkeyes and what they were able to accomplish this year. But yeah, man, come from Iowa. A small town in Iowa. Grew up on a farm. Grew up with a single mom. We lived off food stamps, believe it or not. So really poor family, and first in my family to go to college and graduate. Worked really hard my whole life. I had my first job when I was 6 years old, detasseling corn, and I had many jobs as a kid, working construction, working roofing, and farm chores, landscaping, what have you, and eventually made my way into tech. Moved to Colorado 2 weeks after I graduated from college, and landed my first job in a recruiting agency. So my career has been in talent acquisition. I've spent about close to 20 years in talent acquisition, and the past 10 to 15 years has been in management. I've led teams from as small as 2 to around 100 direct and indirect reports. I've spent 10 years with Amazon and Google, leading large teams and working with some pretty senior level executives. Had the opportunity to work hand in hand with some pretty impressive folks, and very, very grateful. Feel like I've had a master's degree with Google and a master's degree with Amazon, if you will. I've learned quite a bit at both of those companies. Very, very grateful to have those experiences, and spent a couple years at Ripple as well.
Nice.
So really, really excited to talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm excited. It's funny when you were talking for a minute, for just a moment. I don't know about you. I just had this out of body experience. I was thinking like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie. What is it called? Twins. I was like, this dude's like my brother, man. Like, he's talking about welfare and poor and a single mom. Like, did you live in another room in the back? It's just crazy. It's like you're telling my story. And I just say that, even though I'm being humorous a bit, it really hits me in the heart when I hear from people like you. It reminds me of John Deaton. It reminds me of Brad Kimes, DAI, all these just really cool, humble guys. And I think it speaks volume for who you are as a person when you come from that situation: welfare, poverty, struggling, just in your mind questioning everything. Why am I here? Why did we have this unfortunate circumstance in life, and then pushing yourself to be phenomenally great in all that you do, and like I said, question everything, and I appreciate you as a person, just knowing that you went through that, because it speaks volume when you start talking about X Google, X Ripple. I mean, that's not what the average guy coming up on welfare does. A lot of times they blame, we want to point fingers, we want to be the victim, and so that says a whole lot about you, brother. And I appreciate you sharing that more than you know, for sure.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, with that being said, so, you did all these incredible things. You were able to share that you're very fortunate in having a family. I definitely commend you and appreciate that as well. How did your journey start? Or should I say, what was your exposure to crypto? Was it like everybody else? You saw this shiny thing, you heard about this internet funny money. In like, what year did you get started? If you don't mind taking us on the journey of how that happened.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say I'm definitely not an expert will never claim to be an expert, and anyone that does should probably be a part of the C++ advisory committee or something similar, right?
That's right. That's right.
So I would say my first experience with cryptography was in college. Actually, I had a very eccentric communications professor that introduced us to cryptography. Didn't really pay attention to it, right? Like, had the experience, went through it, thought it was interesting. Reintroduced at Amazon when Bitcoin kind of became mainstream, right? Got into it, bought a little bit of Bitcoin, thought it was cool, didn't really pay attention again, as I think, many people did.
And what year was that? What year was that, buddy?
Probably 2014.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
2015. You
got in early. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't like full in on Bitcoin, right?
Right.
It was like more of a dabbling. And then, really got into it when I joined Ripple. Had no idea what Ripple was, had no idea what XRP was, right? I got a call from a headhunter and wow. She really got me into, hey, this is what Ripple is. This is what XRP is. And I was like, wow, this is cool. So I was like, all right, let's move on to the next step. And that's how I was introduced to Ripple and XRP and just fell in love.
Wow. So that was predicated off your skill set. You were recruited.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So that's a different story. You might be the first person I've ever heard. Most people got into crypto, Bitcoin, then they start digging and they found this asset. So man, it sounds like it was meant to be for sure. So I love it. So let me ask you this. Your thoughts, being that we know how you got in crypto, the timeline that you got in crypto, I want to kind of shift it over to a story that you remind me of, John Deaton. He talks about struggle, he talks about adversity, he talks about welfare, and making against all the odds, which is kind of what I look at myself and I look at you. When you think of John Deaton, what does that name mean to you? And the fact that he's running for Senate, what does that mean to you? What do you think it means to crypto as a whole?
Immediately, John Deaton, I just felt a connection, right? Like, we have so many things in common. Him growing up in one of the in Detroit, growing up very poor. He was, the first in his family to graduate from high school. Wow. Being a Marine, my mom had two of my half brothers who are much older than I am, who both served in the military. So we have that in common. I was the first to graduate from college in my family. We both grew up poor. He has 3 daughters. I'm a girl dad, about to have my second daughter on Monday.
Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. So, I think the people of Massachusetts have been wronged by Senator Warren. I think everyone that's in the crypto community, especially the XRP community, has seen that. They're well aware of that. Chief Spreading Bull, you've seen her get off her private jet. You've seen what she makes in terms of her salary, but what she has in terms of, her wealth, and things just don't add up. So I think there needs to be a change. I think, overall there needs to be a change. And I think John Deaton is someone who can come in and really fight for the people. And he's proven that with his track record. And he's the right person for that job.
Yeah, I definitely agree wholeheartedly. It's like, before there was a Senate race or anything else, a lot of times it's the things that you do when no one's watching, they say. And, John Deaton is the epitome of that. When there was a problem with Library, he was there fighting. When there was a problem with Coinbase, even though they X'd out XRP really quickly when they got sued, he was there fighting for them. I mean, he's a guy that represents the people. He's a guy that searches and tries to expose the truth. And I think that just means a whole lot to crypto in this entirety, for sure.
And people need to step up and support him more. I think we need to get behind him as a community, and I think he'll see it. He will.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, because a lot of times, we we don't take the time to vote. We don't take the time to just make that little effort. We just wish and hope and talk. But, this is our chance to actually stand up. I mean, and when you think about the fact that what crypto represents, in my opinion, which is, I said this earlier, I was on a X space with DAI and Brad Kimes, and I said, it allows people to dream again, man. I mean, like what is a life of freedom worth to you? Are you willing to take that vote? Are you willing to give what you can and help, with this cause that he's fighting for? Freedom comes at a price, man. Getting out of this messed up matrix that we've been in since the beginning of time, that we really get entrapped in this matrix, this poverty type mindset where a lot of people don't make it out, like John or like yourself or like me. And I think that's what excited me, Sean. And I want you to, your opinion is, that's what excited me about crypto is, like, at 6'8", I played ball. I did this. I had, God blessed me with a certain skill that I was able to focus on. And then obviously have the mindset to expand past that. But a lot of people can't throw a football, man, or
Right.
shoot a basketball, or sing like Michael Jackson, or has acting skills like Brad Pitt. So, for me, crypto was that thing that, it was like one of the fairest forms of capitalism. Like it allowed anybody to dream again.
Yes.
And all you had to do is just pay attention. Your thoughts on, do you kind of feel that way about crypto?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is that for a lot of people. And I think it is about paying attention and, finding that one piece that you can just grab onto and that is your out. That is your out of those things. I think that opportunity is there for a lot of those people that don't have those other opportunities there for them.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing, and the one thing that I felt too, Sean, like when I meet people like you, I don't know what it is. I read this thing a while back. It said some of the people that will be closest and mean the most to you will be people that strangers that you meet. And the reason I say that is because, we're in a world full of chaos, uncertainty, corruption, all this war, all this stuff that's going on, trying to fight for this. And it's like, if there's ever a time to come together in this opportunity called cryptocurrency, it just, to me, it's really our opportunity to bond together as a family.
Yes.
A lot of times we can't get people with different this to see eye to eye, or religion. That's why I don't talk about religion and politics. But in this space, I really feel this overwhelming sense of family.
Right.
It really just does something to me, man. It's like the people I've met, the relationships that I forged. I mean, it's just, and the people, like yourself, man, the people that I've met. And so, talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind. Just that, do you feel like it's something like a family? We need to come together. That's why it's so important to back John Deaton. That's why it's so important not to have tribalism and talk down on each other and not be supportive, man. It's like, who cares? Like, if, this is not about this being bad. I'm diversified. I'm never going to talk down on an asset. Like, do your research. And if you believe in something, God bless you, but
yeah. And if you don't, why buy it? Or if you don't, sell it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I was watching Ladies Night on Friday, and
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm so impressed with those ladies, by the way, and with yourself. And thank you for providing that space for them. And, I'm going to continue to watch.
Thank you.
Really, really impressed with all of them.
Thank you, buddy.
But yeah, I agree. I think crypto can end poverty. And I think that's why it's really, really important that we support Fruition Films.
Yeah.
I think they're doing things the right way. I think they're exposing a lot of the things that aren't normally exposed within the space.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of really, really cool, good things that are coming out because of that. And I think that people are going to learn. Over 1 million views on the trailer already, which is phenomenal. Crazy. Phenomenal. So yeah, I agree with you, James. I think 100%. I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about that, because I'm going to get into that question about them. Matter of fact, we'll just skip to that question.
Sure.
What does that documentary mean to this space? Because I know Chris and Maya, I've got to know them personally. I can call them my friends. Matter of fact, up until there was a conflicting time with some scheduling with I had an event that I was going to do at my home. And then I had some people advise me against it, which that's fine. But there's going to be another event, but they were going to come in with their cameras and film here at the house and do interviews here at my home. And so but what I want people to understand is, a lot of times in life, people are out for themselves, and they go out and they become wealthy, and it's like, hey, that's it. It's all about me. Screw everything else, and they're done, or they're quiet. These guys got into meme coins, and I'm trying to wait for them to give me the okay to come out to have them talk about just their story. But they started with memes. They became millionaires in memes, jumped to another meme, 3-4x their millions from that, and then got into assets like XRP. And instead of just being quiet and going hallelujah, because Chris was over at I want to say he was like at Google, and he was just tired of his doggone 9 to 5. He says, dude, I don't see any future in this. Even though people might think I got a great job, what am I going to retire on? What is my future? And so they were just sick and tired of being sick and tired. So they made these millions, and instead of going in a hole and going, hallelujah, we made it, they went back and said, let's do something for everyone else. Let's show how selfless we are. I mean, the fact that they put themselves out there, people don't understand the type of risk that's associated with that type of exposure. Are you kidding? And the fact that you've made millions, and so instead of being in the shadow, you come out to the forefront, with no reason to help out 68J or Sean or anybody else in this community, but say, we want to tell the truth. What do you think that means? The documentary and this whole movement with Fruition Productions and XRP Unleash, ETHGate.
I mean, I think that speaks for itself, right? I mean, you've got people out there that are doing this selflessly, that are coming out there, they're spending their own money. They're not speculating on the XRP price. They're not mentioning anything about the price of XRP. They're not out there to do that. They're out there to tell the story. They're out there to storytell. So I think that's extremely important. They don't have an agenda. So I think for them to do that, and I think for them to do this the right way, they're not trying to get a bunch of developers. They're trying to, structure it in a way and structure it in the right way. So yeah, they started off with folks from different backgrounds. Then they moved on to developers. Now they're looking for institutional folks and folks that are a part of large institutions, and they're trying to get folks from Ripple, which I know that's going to be very difficult because for the obvious reasons. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think there's, obviously people out there that want to see this, evidenced by the 1.2 million views on the trailer already. I've got connections over at Amazon Studios that I'm probably going to be reaching out to this week. Waiting to hear back from Chris and others from Fruition Films on a template drafts that I'm going to send over to some folks. So yeah, I think they've got a good shot of getting some pretty good, pretty big names out there, getting their docuseries with either Netflix or Prime Studios or Amazon Studios or one of the big ones.
Yeah, and that's crazy because one thing that you just brought up that reminded me, they did all this from their own pocket. There was no financial where they built up some type of money or assistance and that's a risk. I mean, they've spent a crazy amount of money getting this thing done. It's not guaranteed that anybody's going to pick it up. And the only thing they did is say, hey, let us go out there and tell the truth and hope that the crypto community rallies behind us, and which we have, because like you said, 1.2 million views on the not finished version of the film yet. But it just really speaks volume because they're taking a chance, man. They're rolling dice. And I just think that says a whole lot. I think that says a whole lot. Yeah. So, yeah, with
absolutely.
That
and if people didn't care, they wouldn't be making comments, negative or positive, right? They would just ignore it.
Yeah. I'm gonna do everything I can. I've retweeted, and I'm asking everyone that's watching this show now, almost 600 people in less than 20 minutes live between X and YouTube. I appreciate all you guys that are watching this right now. If you guys want to support the movement, go out to Fruition Productions. I believe it's, if I was to go over there, I believe it's I just want to make sure I look at this before I actually say. It should be at Fruition Production. I'm actually going to pull it up right now. Let me see here, guys. You guys go over here and do me a favor and support Sean and I's friend. So I can find here. They should be in here somewhere here, Fruition. Let me pull that up real quick. I kind of went off topic here, but now I'm just feeling super motivated to get this. Okay, here we go. So guys, go over to, I'm going to put it up on the screen here while we're talking a bit. Let me see where we're at here. So you guys do me a favor, go over to Fruition Production, support my brother and sister, Chris and Maya, all that they're doing. It would mean the world to me. It would mean the world to Sean. And I definitely appreciate you, Sean, doing all you can do to help them get this out. Now, my next question, as we have this up on the screen, Ripple. Man, when everybody was running for the hills, it's so funny because I always talk about two things that happened around 2021. And that is everybody that I knew that wouldn't listen to me years prior to that started calling. I mean, out of the blue, like, what's going on? They didn't want to listen then, but that's the problem. Everyone wants to listen when it's on fire and we're in a run. And then the second thing was when we had that retracement, everybody ran, people were laying off, people were cutting back, CEOs were quitting, banks were going out of business. The only company that I remember hearing anything positive, hiring, expanding, acquiring, and just always never sacrificed integrity for growth and always kept pushing the envelope was Ripple. What can you say about Ripple? Is that a solid company in your opinion?
100%. Let me tell you this, James. The only reason I got laid off was because of Gary Gensler. Plain and simple. The SEC and Gary Gensler. Jeez. You know why? Because Ripple was forced to move 75% of their headcount outside of the US. They're still hiring outside of the US. I've spent a lot of time at Ripple in Singapore, in London. And I'll tell you what, anybody that hasn't spent time in London, Singapore, Dublin, Europe, Southeast Asia, it's a totally different landscape over there. Crypto is so much further ahead in Southeast, especially in Southeast Asia. It's so much further ahead. South Korea, Singapore, I mean, Japan is so much further ahead. I mean, I
think we might have lost Sean there. Are you there, Sean, or is it me? Is it my connection or Sean?
Still here. Sorry.
Okay, there you go, brother.
Sorry.
Okay, there you go. No problem. No, you're good. No, you're good. You're good.
So I was saying so much further ahead in Southeast Asia, especially in Singapore and Japan and South Korea. And, if the United States doesn't do something and regulatory oversight doesn't shift from the SEC to another agency quickly, we're gonna fall behind. So yes, Ripple is a solid company. They are the grown-ups in the room. Brad, let me tell you this. I'm not going to speak for Brad, but Brad is very based, right? Like he's a based dude. And again, I'm not going to speak for him, but he's not like the DEI guy. He's not that guy.
Right.
He's a grown up. He's not a Vitalik dude. He's not like, he's a business dude. He knows how to run a business. So I would equate him to like a Jeff Bezos, somebody that knows how to run a business. He's going to reinvest in the company. So people that say, Ripple's dumping on retail, bullshit. Ripple is reinvesting in the company. They're acquiring companies. I love it. They're doing things behind the scenes that people, even within the community, don't realize, right? Like they're doing acqui-hires. People don't realize that because it's behind the scenes. They're not communicating that out to the community. Okay. Right. Like there's things that are happening. So acqui-hires are, they're not maybe necessarily acquiring a company, but they're acquiring talent of a company.
I see.
Where a company is dissolving or they're just acquiring the talent of the company, but not the company itself. But they're also acquiring companies like Medico. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold.
No, you're good.
And they're acquiring, the knowledge of those individuals as well. So, there's I hired someone at Ripple that runs that whole department. And this guy went to school with Brad at University of Kansas. So they're buddies. But his name's Eric Jeck. And so there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that people don't understand. And, people that are saying that they're dumping on retail, it's just not true. They're reinvesting in the company like Amazon. And I watched your short on, on Amazon. And I think, one of the cool things about Ripple is they're taking, a page out of Amazon's book.
Yeah.
And if you look at Amazon and, for years, Wall Street and investors were like, what the hell is going on with Amazon? They're not making any money. They're not making us any money.
Right.
Well, yeah, because they're building AWS, they're building Alexa, they're building their advertising business. And then all of a sudden, boom, right? It took off. Then everybody started making money.
Right.
So yeah, that's a smart move.
Yeah.
Don't sacrifice, long-term value for short-term results.
That's right.
So that's what I got to say about that. Yes, it's a solid company. Yes, it's going to survive the long term. Yes, they're doing things the right way. They're the grown-ups in the room.
Yeah, I love it. And, there's two parts of what you just said that part excited me and part angered me. The angered part is that the SEC takes no responsibility for the stuff that they've done to the American people. The fact that at one point we were revered as the tech, mecca of the world with San Francisco and all the incredible technology that came out of here. And they just really embarrassed us as a country. And you saw a lot of people leaving this country. You saw a lot of San Francisco, people just bailed out when a lot of that tech was needed, because that's a city, man, that really needs that, those companies there. And, and then you hear about the actions that they've taken, even when we talk about the lawsuit, which we can get into all that. And I always compare it to the 90s Olympics when, Tonya Harding hired Nancy Kerry, hired a mugger to hit this lady in the ankles. And just so she could be at the forefront. And that's really what they did for Ethereum. And we're going to get into some of that talk in a bit, but just really angers me that people like yourself who were a part of this just amazing opportunity were, a victim of circumstance of a corrupted, which I hate to say it, but we're in a country that just seems to love slavery, and I don't mean as a race, as a people. We are Americans, and
Right.
yet we are in this slave-driven system, and it's all about control. It's all about keeping people down, and that's what it's about, control. Like, they don't want to see people dream again. How does Elizabeth Warren make $100 and something thousand a year, almost 200,000 a year, but she's worth $100+ million? Like, how do you do that? It doesn't work that way for me and you. There's no jobs giving out those type of bonuses. So that's what this is all about. It's a corruptive game of chess. And that's the part that angers me. The part that makes me excited and blessed is knowing a lot of the people that I bring on the show, for me, they give credibility to why XRP, why Ripple. Right, I've had everything from scholars and Nobel Peace Prize winners to doctors and everything else. And you see these brilliant people with this one thing in common, that they've done their research, they've done their due diligence. And look, man, I I've never invented anything in my life. I was just really good at looking at people and going, oh my gosh, I think I can do that. Like, following success. And that's the whole part about bringing people in like you. Is like, look, I just follow success. If Sean McBride sees it and all the stuff that he's been able to do, there's something there. And so when you start adding all that up, it just really speaks volume to who Ripple is as a company. And I remember when Brad said, he goes, Amazon in the early days when they were selling books was where we were at when we were just thinking about cross-border payments. He goes, where we're at today is in a whole different ball game. Like, and so speak on that, if you don't mind. Just where do you see Ripple right now? And I mean, the endless possibilities of where they could be heading, an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think it's evolved, right? And I think they've taken a similar strategy, as I mentioned, is taking a page out of Amazon's book. They're not only cross-border payments, their custody, their tokenization, their CBDCs, there's layer 2 smart contracts. There's everything now. It's and I think that's what a lot of people are not understanding. It's more than just cross-border payments. So I think I think there's a lot more behind the scenes, again, that they're working on that a lot of people don't understand. They're trying to build a community as well.
Right.
And I think, there's a lot more that can be done there. And I think they would say the same thing. There's a lot more work to be done around, the XRPL community, and there's still things that they can be doing better in that regard, but they're working at it. And there's always room for improvement. But I think we're going to continue to see innovation. I think we're going to continue to see some pretty amazing things coming out of Ripple in the near future.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think one of the things I always say, if there's four sets of people that know exactly the value of XRP and Ripple. I always say, is you and I, the retailer, Ripple themselves, obviously, the institutions. That's, I say institutions because it's the things we know about and all the things that we don't know about. And you've been there, and I'm not even trying to go there with you. But I always say, to me, the most exciting things are the things that I don't know. But when you start connecting the dots and you see the picture, even though the line hasn't hit all the dots, you look back and go, oh my God, I see it. So I don't know if you ever played that connect the dot little game, whatever. Yeah. And it's like you start seeing where the lines are going, and even before it's finished, you're like, whoa, is this for real? So and then the fourth person or ones who know about the extraordinary opportunity with XRP and Ripple is the government. And that's exactly why all these things are happening.
Yes.
Yeah, your comment on that.
Oh, yeah. I think, connecting the dots. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we talk about BRICS and we talk about, what's happening globally. But, I think, and some of the awesome researchers that we have in the community are exposing, the protocol and the payments protocol that have, that are within some of these payment systems across, multiple countries and banks. Across the world, and the partners with Ripple that we're seeing. So that's being exposed.
Yeah, I want to go somewhere with you if you don't mind. I remember being a young person. My mom was very spiritual in church and everything, and I remember reading this story about the Ark. You're right, Moses and the Ark, or whatever. And I always thought to myself, that had to be the hardest thing to do, to try to convince people to get on that thing. And because he knew something everybody else didn't know. And so I use that analogy to say, here you're a person that worked at Ripple. You've seen things that we've never seen. If you were talking to, because I'm taking a question on, I'm just going to twist a little bit. It was, where do you see the potential Ripple long-term and short-term? I want to combine that with the fact that if you were talking to family, and you were trying to tell them about this Ark that they need to get on board, how would you deliver that message? Because there's a lot of people right now, Sean, that are frustrated. There's a lot of people who feel like when they look at coins like Shakaka coin, it doesn't exist. I always throw that stupid coin up there because I don't want to offend anybody's project. And they look at coins that got 10 zeros or 12 zeros or 15 zeros, and they're trying to chase that scratcher, that lottery ticket type scenario, instead of understanding the true value of what's in front of them. What do you say to that person who's sitting around mad because Shakaka coin went up 1,000%, but XRP hasn't performed all that? What do you say to that person to say, man, you just got to have faith? If you could just take a moment, what would you say to that family member of that person to tell them about this Ark that's getting ready to leave?
I would just tell them, which cryptocurrency out there has the most utility, and then if they don't know anything about cryptocurrency, I would explain utility to them. Right? It's simple, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Utility. XRP is utility, right? Yeah. It offers utility, and I think if you're an institutional investor, and if you're an institution, you're looking for utility.
Yeah,
and it's as simple as that. Yeah, and I think Brad is harping on this, in layman's terms with when he explains to people why XRP, it's all about utility.
Yeah, it's not the shiniest. It doesn't have a bunch of zeros. It's not going to go 15,000% next month, you know, and I think that's what it is. It's just not the prettiest, sexiest thing that, as far as in our eyes, it is. And because we see the beauty, we see the beauty of what's inside, which is the way anything in life should go. The beauty of what's inside. But a lot of times people want to just see that shell. They want to see the, you know, the, oh gosh, let me stop. I was about to say, forget it, wigs and make, you know, whatever. Okay, so the bottom line is we understand we hold. Okay, let's move on. That would have got me in some trouble. Okay, let's keep it going. So let's talk about how important, well, we already did the documentary. So where do you see crypto as a whole in 5 years? And will these elections help that narrative out at all moving forward over the next 5 years?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think you've seen Trump, you know, assuming Trump's going to be our president, you know, I think you've seen him kind of make a turn in terms of his viewing on crypto. You know, I think we will see a shift in, you know, who's actually regulating crypto. I think we'll see some regulatory clarity in the U.S. You know, I think at least that's my hope. You know, I don't think we're going to see the SEC ultimately being the regulator. You know, right now, Gary Gensler does not have to answer to anyone in regards to crypto regulation. He doesn't. There is no oversight committee. There is none. There's no congressional oversight committee that is in place to oversee crypto regulation in the United States, plain and simple.
Yeah.
There is none. He has to answer to Congress, but there's no set time that he has to go to Congress and say, you know, this is what I'm doing with crypto. There isn't. And there's no oversight committee. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
No, I agree.
You know, I think we're going to see, you know, payments, you know, exceed 175 trillion market cap.
Wow.
In the next 5 years, probably. You know, that's, you know, 12% compounded rate year over year. That's unbelievable. That's B2B, right? That's Ripple. That's what Ripple's playing in, not B2C. The big difference. I think we're going to see, you know, tokenization take off. I think, you know, stable coins, CBDCs, those are going to be widely adopted. Hopefully not in the US. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's my hope.
Yeah. And, you know, I love it because you just answered that question that I asked a moment ago. Why do people get frustrated? And I think you hit it right there. And that is that they don't understand this is not about market cap. This is not about retail people getting in. How many people like you and I are going to get it? That's not what it's about. I think XRP moves with the rest of the market just because that's by default. But I think the moment that flip of the switch, see, Brad doesn't say things loosely, and neither does people like Rosie Rios. And so when he says stuff like flip of the switch, it's because he understands things that most people don't. And those of us who've dug deep do. And that is, it's institutional adoption. It's that thing that once this lawsuit is over, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. I believe at some point when it's really embraced for what it was created for, and it really starts getting that momentum with these partnerships, I think it starts separating itself from the rest of the market. And that's when some of these things that I've done on my X, like when I said, I think people are going to be chasing the 1%. You know, we talked about, okay, what if Ripple's, you know, they said in order for it to be effective, 10,000. You see some people like VTHO Capital say stuff like, well, 25 to 35,000 by a certain time. And there's all these different prices. I said, but what if they're 10% right? What if they're 1% right? And most people will
1%.
1%. I mean, 1% of 10,000 is $100. 1% of Vahil's predictions is $250 to $350. So, but most people are going to miss the 1% because they're so frustrated that when $5 come or $10 come, they're gone.
Yeah,
they're literally gone. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, you know, if you look at it, you know, the case. So, first of all, let me back up. Brad is very transparent as a leader. We had a weekly meeting with Brad. Brad would get up in front of the entire company and give an update. Brad and Stu would give an update to the entire company on the case, and he'd be very transparent about where we're at. And every week it was like, the SEC is awful. Like, we're kicking their ass. Here's what's happening. We are not going to settle with the SEC unless this, and this are met.
That's right.
So let me just tell everyone right now, they're not going to settle unless these things are met. I'm not going to tell you what those things are, but there's certain things that need to be met in order for Ripple to settle this case.
That's right.
I think they're very close. Don't get me wrong. I think they're very close. But precedent is 50 million, not 2 billion. Okay.
No.
So they're not going to settle for $2 billion. No. I think precedent is 50 million. I think if they get close to 50 million, I think they'll settle. But unless they get close to 50 million, there's no chance.
Yeah.
They'll see it through. But I think what we've seen recently is, the SEC just getting blasted across multiple channels and multiple cases, right? So we're getting closer. I think I went off on a tangent.
No, you're good, because that leads into another question. Keep going. Yeah.
But I think Brad is very, very transparent about how things are going, how things are operating. And I think, that was very clear to us as a company, and it might not be as clear to the rest of the folks outside of Ripple.
Yeah, no, I love where you went with that, because it takes us into this next question, which is the SEC, your thoughts on the SEC versus Ripple, and that led into the $2 billion ridiculous asking price. And I don't think it's about the 2 billion. At first, I think it shocked all of us. And then I quickly said, wait a minute, they threw a number out there. Even if it's a ridiculous number, that just means they're willing to talk now. And they don't think they're going to get two. They got to be stupid to think they'll get 2 billion. If you add up the last 12, if you add up the last 12 cases, just had to add them all up together of what the SEC has gone after these 12 companies in the past for money wise, it doesn't even add up to like 1 point something billion. So it's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, a lot of times if I want to sell a car for 10 grand, I might ask 14.9 or whatever it is. So I think it gave me a little hope after I got past the first initial anger. Like, are you stupid? Like, what's going on with you guys? When I realized, wait a minute, they're talking now. They're talking something. And I think for me, and I want to get your opinion, number one is not only have they been losing for reasons of lying, being dishonest, having certain agendas. I mean, just all these fraudulent, it's funny, Gary Gensler says hucksters, fraudsters, and tricksters. And sometimes I'd say people learn a lot about themselves when they stand in front of the mirror. It sounds like he was talking about himself.
Like he's projecting, right?
He's projecting. And the fact that, the thing that got me with the $2 billion, it came out right at the time. And I want you to stay with me here, because I want you to answer this. For so long, he stood in front of all these congressional hearings and didn't say nothing. Is Ethereum a security? Nothing. Why did he get a free pass? Nothing. Going on news stations, he would always. And all of a sudden, right when you're losing all these cases, you've been found to be fraudulent. Now you come out with a $2 billion asking price, which means you now want to talk some type of settlement, and then you say ethos is a security. Why would you do that now? Why all those things at the same time? And the only thing that could come in my mind is the pressure that they're getting to approve an Ethereum ETF, because you can't do that without at least addressing the elephant in the room. And so you want to give this false sense of justice, like, okay, ethos is security. And even Brad said, I don't think they're going to prove that, because it could be the statute of limitations. It could be so many different variables they just let the monster get too big. And then when I look back at what they did, and I don't mean to go on this tangent, what they did with FTX, the guy's in prison 25 years. He'll probably serve half of that. Maybe if they got some backdoor deal, maybe 5 to 7. And they dropped one of the most important parts of that case out. They threw it out. And that is, where did the money go from people who were stolen to these politicians? Why did you drop that part out? So it just doesn't give me faith that justice is going to prevail with the ETHGate situation. Maybe it will. You got Stephen Narev and all that stuff out there. And I definitely love, the fact that he's out there, and obviously XRP.
The news today about him going after
nine. Was it how many? Was it like I got a message from Fruition? Yeah, like 9 billion. I got a message from Fruition on my phone.
$9 billion, 9.6 billion.
I didn't even know that. Like, I literally got a message from Chris and Maya, and it says, did you see Stephen going after the $9 billion against the U.S. government? I'm like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. So yeah, good for him. And I think he's brilliant, because it's almost like, and I'm gonna go back to my question. It's almost like when Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith. We were all like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go do something. Like, and he was so smart. He kept his integrity. He kept the whole thing, and he allowed it to. They said his ticket sales went up like 5 or 6 times. This guy made millions. Then he got like a double $20 million deal from Netflix to tell. So we didn't understand it, but he understood it. And a lot of people didn't understand Stephen Narrow's whole approach, but I think I understand it now. Let's get the truth out there so I can go back there and get justice for what they've done against me and against this space.
He's got the receipts.
He's got everything. John Deaton even validated it. Yeah, recordings, documentation. John Deaton said, I saw it. So like I said, for me, I think all things don't have. I think everything when it comes to the SEC is a chess game, a very corrupted chess game. And I want you to just speak on any of that stuff that I just talked about. I know it's a lot, but I personally think that there's a settlement coming. And I never said that before. I never would say that because I didn't want to give false hope. But it's like, I'm looking at the damn dots, and I'm looking back going, wait a minute, $2 billion, they're talking. They're losing, and they need money. They need some kind of money. And the government doesn't want to give it to them because they're it's almost embarrassed. So what do you see all that going?
I mean, I hate to speculate, but I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, I think they want to settle. I don't know how Ripple feels about it, though. I mean, it has to be right for Ripple.
Yep.
I think it has to be right for Ripple. And I think, like I said, it has to be closer to that 50 million mark than 2.2 billion.
Yeah. It's crazy because I don't know what it was that came up here recently. It was, and I don't want to speak too much on it, but it was, we were having a conversation, me and this doctor, about my daughter's boyfriend. And it's like they had an opportunity to give this guy a major contract, but they waited and they waited and they waited. And all of a sudden, when they wanted to negotiate, he says, wait a minute, I'm having the best year of my life. Like I just became Pro Bowl. I just became All Pro.
Yeah.
All Pro. I just
Show me the money.
We're not going to negotiate now. Let's wait. So after all that stuff happened, Pro Bowl, All Pro, best defensive coverage player in the league. Okay, now let's talk, because now the number's greater. And I think the flip of that is with the SEC and Ripple. They're like, wait a minute, like we could have ended it, but now you're losing. You're a liar. Everyone knows it. And what just happened with Coinbase? Secondary sales are not a security. I mean, it's like, why would he give you anything? I mean, we could just fight. We've come this far. Let's just finish the fight. What do you think?
Exactly. And to be honest with you, James, I think Ripple's going to come out on the other end of this with full clarity, with XRP being the only cryptocurrency with regulatory clarity. Yeah. They're going to come out of this, and I think this is what Ripple, what XRP, what the community needs too, is the end of this case for you mentioned the flip of the switch. I think that's what needs to happen. But like I said, Ripple needs to do it right. I mean, they have an amazing legal team led by Stu, and it rivals the legal teams of like a Google. Wow. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Stu is brilliant, and that team behind him is pretty amazing. So I won't say much more, but things are bright.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I love your perspective on the fact that they're not giving up what everyone thinks they're going to give up. Let's shift towards BRICS, Ripple, and the Bank of International Settlements. Your thoughts on that?
So yeah. Obviously, Ripple's part of the cross-border payments task force, right? They're also a part of, the interoperability and the extension task force. So they put 2 and 2 together. So is Swift, so is MasterCard. That should probably tell you something. BRICS, I think Ashley Prosper did a pretty good job of putting 2 and 2 together there. She did a lot of really good research on, hey, who's Ripple's partners and Ripple, really, really connected to in terms of BRICS countries. And, she put a lot of things together there.
Right.
And it turns out pretty much all of them.
Right. Right.
So without going too far in depth there, I think there have been conversations between, look at Egypt as an example. There's recent news that Ripple's working with a bank in Egypt to do remittance services between Egypt and another country. Remittance, I would say, is just a very small a chunk of crypto services. They're doing the same with SBI remittance in Japan, between the Philippines and Japan. But it's a great way for central banks or banks to start using Ripple services and explore those services before fully diving in. I think.
Are you there, Sean? I think we lost you.
Sorry, my internet.
Okay, no, you're good.
Internet's spotty. My bad.
No, you're good.
Anyways, institutions are risk averse, right? So they don't want to jump fully in or flip the switch right away. They want to test out services or start small. And I think remittances are a good way to do that. And then flip the switch later on to other services, if you will. So getting back on track here, I think BRICS countries are exploring a number of different things: CBDCs, cross-border payment services, their own centralized, a lot of things. Ripple is a part of it. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I can't do anything but laugh, man. Because you reminded me of one of my good buddies. You got this. Like I've seen you face to face long enough now to know that smirk means that I wish I could tell you, and I wish I could say it's just me and you. But unfortunately, it's almost 1,100 people watching live. So I would say, tell me something, Sean, between you and I. But it would be a bold-faced lie. We got 1,100 people watching between YouTube and Twitter or X. But man, I could tell. It's like, oh, there's some juicy stuff, but it just gives me hope and it's exciting. Let's talk about CBDCs, good or bad, in your opinion?
Depends on good for who.
Okay.
For the US, no, because the Fed we need to end the Fed, and right. The Fed is our central bank. So no, I don't think we need a central bank digital currency here in the US.
Right.
I think we need to end the Fed and everything that goes along with it. But if you're Ripple and you're thinking about your customer, and your customers are the majority of your customers are outside of the US, and right. Your customers are looking at CBDCs, then yes, it's good. So China, you're looking at some of these other countries that are looking at CBDCs. And I think one thing I will say, I think Japan might be the first G7 country that might introduce a CBDC. You didn't hear that from me first, but right. That might be the first G7 country that could introduce a CBDC, and that might be pretty exciting for Ripple, given their relationship with Japan, and the comment made by the CEO of SBI. So good and bad. Do I want to see one in the US? No. Do I want to see CBDCs outside of the US? Sure. Why not? I think the stable coin is good. But yeah, I think they will be implemented. I think they'll be implemented through institutions, through banks, payment service providers. And I think, the way that those will make, interest will be collected on those. Right. I think that's the way that the banks will make money off of them.
Yeah. I agree with you. You said something about stable. Let's talk about how big was that move by Ripple? A lot of people, and again, there goes that smirk, man. It's so funny because someone here in the comments says, if I want to ask any like really deep dive question, there's going to be a meme of your face with that smirk. Like, I can't say, but I love it. But no, so this stablecoin, it's funny because you have so many people that, again, I think it's just they don't understand. They heard the stablecoin announcement. Oh, that means Ripple's going to be XRP is going to be a stablecoin now. It's only going to be and it's just like, do you not look at what Binance has? I mean, BNB versus BUSD. Like I don't understand the mindset of some people, but at the end of the day, is this a good thing for Ripple all in all to be in that now
Yes.
in that game?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They wouldn't have done it if it wasn't. And they will be used together. Often used together. So I can't talk too much about it, but yes, it's a good thing and they'll be used together and often.
I love it. I love it. Let me see here. I believe we pretty much got through everything. I know there's a couple areas that we probably skip past because we kind of covered that already. If you were to, it's funny to me how a lot of people get frustrated and they can't see some of the numbers that are talked about with XRP. I'll end it with this. We're at 60 something cents. But yet they don't understand that Bitcoin at one point was, a few cents or even less than that at one point. And it doesn't even have the same potential that XRP has. I won't say speak to anything in general other than just that in itself. Do you think, I always say it's going to be one of the greatest stories of somebody's life or one of the biggest regrets? Just your comments on that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look at the history of, look at the history of everything.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, right? And I go back to this Amazon stock. When I joined Amazon, it was, I mean, they've done stock splits, obviously, but when I joined Amazon, I forget what it was, but it was so low, and then it exploded, right? And went from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. Same concept, right? They reinvested in the company, AWS blew up, advertising blew up, Alexa blew up, stock blew up.
That's right.
So I think, same concept there. It's got a ton of potential. It's got a ton of utility. And I think it's just going to go bonkers after this case ends. So yeah, I think that's where we're at, man. Let me put a plug in for XRP Las Vegas. I'm really disappointed I can't be there. Really disappointed I can't meet you in person there. Can't meet Brad Kimes. Can't meet Molly Elmore. And can't meet a bunch of other people that I was looking forward to meeting there. And I would encourage anyone that can be there. You should go network, learn more about the technology behind the XRPL, learn more about what's being built on the XRPL and off the XRPL. Learn more about the people involved, network, and enjoy yourself. It's going to be a great event.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that question up. And something you just said just a while ago will probably be the last question now. One thing that Ripple, Amazon, and even the things that Elon Musk has done as far as his companies with Tesla and so forth, is they were all attacked by the SEC. And they all had to get through that in order to excel. And Molly Elmore made a comment on my show that we did. She says, you got to pay to play here in the United States. That's the bottom line. With any mob or any type situation like that, you got to pay to play. And that's really what it feels like. Ripple's at the point right now, kind of like Amazon was in the beginning. They have to pay to play. I remember watching that video with Elon on Twitter before it became X, where he was almost emotional saying that he knew he wasn't wrong, but he had to pay the fine and settle because he wanted to save his baby. And I think that's where we're at right now. It's not that Ripple thinks they did anything wrong, or even the judicial system thinks they did anything wrong, but sometimes you just got to pay to play in this country. And that's just what it comes down to.
100%, man. Yep.
Yeah. So with that being said, guys, I want you guys to do me a huge favor. I want you to go over to Sean's X page. It's actually at Sean McBride 16. Follow my brother. You can see he's a big supporter of John Deaton, is right there on this page. He's done some incredible things in his life. Is there any other place that they can follow you, Sean, besides your your X page?
That's it, man. That's it.
Well, I appreciate you, my man. Any final thoughts to those who are listening before you get out of here?
Hey, thank you so much. And thank you, James. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure as well. Say hello to the family. Again, I feel bad we can't see you out here. Guys, make sure you also go over to our Crypto4Life YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. You'll catch some incredible interviews like with my brother right here, Sean McBride. It's going to be absolutely incredible. By the way, guys, we also have an extraordinary meeting tomorrow. I actually looked it up, but I'm going to let Sean get out of here. Sean, thank you so much, brother. It means the world. Thank you, and we'll see you soon, brother.
Take care.
Okay, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. So, guys, that's my man,